First of all, I'd just like to thank Gary for his job of moderating. It's not easy to do that kind of thing, especially when you're trying to do it remotely. So thanks very much for bringing it all together. I think we've had great speakers, and it's been great the way that you've facilitated that discussion as well. So thanks very much for that. I just wanted to give some sort of overall impressions from listening to the diversity of views this morning and reading the chat as we've gone along. I think we all come understanding that the aged care system is a very complex system, and that we can't just focus on one particular bit of it and pick out a few actions from the Royal Commission recommendations and think that that will fix the situation. We have to continue to look at it holistically. But one of the things I thought was really useful today is to get a sense that we actually do have the resources as a country to fix and improve the system, to make it a system that is not only more respectful of people, but is a more empathetic system as well. And I think that's one of the things that really came across to me very strongly from the speakers, and especially from the consumer panel, is that we are looking at individuals and what they need from this system, and we shouldn't lose that. We need to look at the needs of people, whether they come from different language groups, different cultures, have disabilities, live in the country, live in the city, wherever they live, that it is really one of the most important things to us is that when we're talking about this, we can use big words like, talking about the importance of transparency and accountability and governance. But underneath that, we have to create and maintain a system that is responsive to the needs of older people as they change and given their different circumstance. And we can't, I think that often is overlooked. We may see individual examples in the media of, good or bad experiences of older people, but we have to actually entrench that within the system. And so we've heard a lot about the importance of empathy over the last few weeks in different contexts. But for me, this is really one where it is very important that we ensure that the changes we create, that one of the cultural changes we create is that respect of each older person as an individual within this system. And in doing that, it's really important that we be aware, as Joe was mentioning, that we do have the resources as a country to do this, not just the money, but also the expertise in relation to aged care, in relation to health, in relation to human rights, in relation to a lot of other things, if we choose to mobilise it to do this. And what we need to do for that is obviously the passion. And I think we've seen today that there is actually a huge amount of passion amongst people around aged care, but it's how we mobilise that so that people like the government are aware that this is not just a report that can be put away somewhere, that it actually is something that must be acted on, and it must be acted on effectively. And that in order to do that, one of the things that we need to move away from is the reliance on the market mechanisms to control and ensure the quality of aged care, to creating a stronger system, whether it's within the health department or as a standalone entity, that we actually need to ensure that the system itself ensures those safeguards, that it's not left to providers to do that. And when we see that there is not necessarily a sustainability plan within the recommendations of the Aged Care Royal Commission, that's true. And we have to look beyond just providing more and more money to providers. But another area that I think we need to be aware of that has been mentioned is that if we are going to have a stronger system, we do need a stronger workforce. And that's about training, but it's also about remuneration of staff, because if we want staff to be providing the kind of care we want to see, then part of their job satisfaction is about having a job that's, pays them a sufficient salary. I think just a couple of other things that I'll mention. There's been a lot of talk, and there was obviously a lot of interest in this whole idea of a council of elders, and I think that's something that we can provide a lot more support to that idea, and especially to ensure that again represents a diversity of older people. So it's not just a particular cohort that's invited to be involved in a mechanism like that. If it's really going to speak for the diversity of experience of older people. And one of the things I particularly liked in the chat was people talking about that this should not just be a council of elders at a higher level engaging with government, but that there's much that we can all do at the neighbourhood and the community level in relation to aged care and our interaction with older people. And perhaps one of my great takeaways from the day will be Robin talking about finding ageing as a rather lovely experience, which I would share. And I think we all understand the mechanisms of ageism, and the more that we can put forward a positive view of ageing, I think the more that will help us in also then supporting the creation of a stronger, more responsive aged care system as well. So thank you to all of you. I think it's been a really engaging day, but also for me, when we look at aged care, it's actually been quite an encouraging discussion as well. So thanks very much for that. I'll hand over to you, Amanda, for the last bit. And just another thank you before I hand over to Amanda. Amanda has done a huge amount of work in organising this, and so thank you very much to you for having the original idea and carrying it through. It's been a great experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexia. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Well, the idea being that we never, ever give up, right? So in some ways, this might feel like the end of the road now that the Royal Commission has concluded, which Joe's just been making comment on in the chat, but it's not. It's really the start of another journey. The Royal Commission has handed down some powerful recommendations to the Australian government, but the challenge, as we have heard today, is getting the government to start implementing them, and that's no easy task. Since aged care is predominantly a federal issue, COTA Australia, which is like the federal counterpart of the organisation COTA Victoria that we work for and that some of you are members of or connected to, they're doing the bulk of the work about this at that federal level. And at the moment, they're focused on the federal budget, which is due to be handed down on the 11th of May. If you'd like to explore more about their advocacy actions, please head to COTA Victoria's Royal Commission Aged Care web page on our COTA Victoria website, and it's got all the links to that, the 12 providers information that Judy spoke about earlier, and other their media release and other things that is their points of view that you can use in what I'm going to suggest you do next. And at COTA Victoria, what we're doing is that we're taking some of our concerns around the role of the state government, because they're not involved in this space, just because most of the funding around aged care comes from a federal level. So we've already been lobbying through our CEO, Tina Hogarth-Clark, and other workers for them to prioritise 3 top issues at the moment, and we'll probably unfurl some more: improving access to AIDS equipment and assistive technology, improving access to state-based healthcare services for people receiving aged care, and improving the transfers between hospitals and residential care. So that leads us to you guys and girls. Now we want to focus on how you can influence change. We know that we need to show the government that there is strong demand for change and that older people will not be silenced until the recommendations have been properly implemented. We need to show them that older people have waited long enough and the time to fix aged care is now. No matter what your relationship with aged care, your voice is important and we encourage you to use it. You can do your part by helping to contact your local MP and demanding that they do something more about aged care, not just the ones in government, but the ones in opposition as well. You can write letters to your local newspaper or radio station outlining the need for the Royal Commission recommendations to be swiftly implemented. If you aren't sure where to start, then that's okay. COTA Victoria, with a lot of help from my wonderful colleague Lauren Henley, has developed some resources to help you along the way. Our Advocacy Warriors Toolkit includes a number of useful tools to help you. There's a sample letter to MPs that you can adapt for your personal use. There's guidance around how to approach a meeting with your MP. There's guidance about how to write a letter to the editor and a sample letter to the editor. So feel free to steal those resources and adapt them for your own use, and hopefully guide you. The link to this has been provided by Lynette in the chat, but it'll also be provided to you in a follow-up email this afternoon, which will include a survey to give us feedback about the event, but also the links to the toolbox so that you can use those resources. They're free. Feel free to share them. You know, if we all connected with a few other older people or younger people or your grandchildren, then, you know, we can fix this system. So just a reminder that if anyone is feeling distressed as a result of today's conversation, please make sure that you reach out and speak to someone. We are grateful to have had the participation of Janet Nixon from Your Community Health here today to provide support. But if you'd like to follow up with Janet, you can make an appointment with her via Your Community Health on 0384701111. Alternatively, you can contact Lifeline or Beyond Blue, and those numbers are in the chat line now. So we're just about to end today's session, but before we wrap up, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to everyone who has been involved in today's event. To our CEO, Tina, and our Zoom guru, Lynette, thank you. To our guest presenters, Judy Gregurki and Joe Ibrahim, your insights and guidance have been somewhat glum, but helpful. We needed the reality check to stir us to action. To our consumer panelists, Nick Nicolau, Robin Vogt, Peter Wilcock, Karen Ivanka, and Ruth Hosking. Wilcock, sorry, Peter, got your name wrong again. I'll get it right in the end. Thank you. I think we all agree, and we'll give a big round of applause that the insights from those consumers have been so valuable to this conversation. To my colleagues, Alexia Huxley, who is now got considerable rap talents, and to the help from my other colleagues, Gemma Neve, Gemma Papperell, Kirsty Chalmers, Lisbeth Gonzalez Nanjaro, and Ron Burke, and of course to our amazing facilitator, Gary Ferguson. And finally, to all of you for coming along, and even to the people that have left. We would like to thank each and every one of you for your commitment, for your interest, and for your involvement. We hope you've enjoyed the event. We hope that you feel a little bit more informed and a little bit more inspired to take action. It's our aged care system. It belongs to all of us. So let's hope that we can do something about it. And, you know, I'm sure that we'll probably try and help people connect and do something together as well. So thank you for participating. I'd like to sign off with a comment that was from one of our participants from the 2019 consumer work that we did. And this is from Valerie at one of our Melbourne-based workshops. We ran 9 throughout the state. We're seeking to change the culture of ageing in Australia, but sadly older people here are seen as a burden. We don't value their skills and what they can contribute. We use the word decline. This contributes to an aged care system that doesn't consider quality of life. Yes, we're encouraged to live a long time, as long as we don't get old. Well, Valerie, let's hope that we've changed the minds of people here today and beyond, because we want to celebrate aging, fix our aged care system, and celebrate all of us growing older. Thank you, everyone, and have a happy day. Goodbye.